Hey everybody, Dan Holstein here, helping your business take flight. And I'm really excited today because I've got Steve Zago and Adam Wright from Lost Aviator Coffee Company, and we're going to be having a conversation about their entrepreneurial journey. So welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us, Dan.
Good. Glad to have you. So now I've had some of your coffee, as has a bunch of my clients, and it's awesome. And I think some of them have reordered. So there's the proof in the pudding.
Yes, they have. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
awesome.
Thank you.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about your journey from what you're doing before, which I haven't really alluded to yet, and to what you're doing now. So what's where do we start the story off?
I'll let Adam take this one.
All right. Yes. Well, you know what? We both live in Guelph, Ontario, and I'm not originally from here, but I got a job with a major airline based in Toronto. And Steve told me I had to move to Guelph, so I guess I had to move to Guelph, and that's where Steve grew up. So we were doing our thing, and then I got Steve a reference to join the same airline, and so we've been enjoying our careers. Flying out of Toronto Pearson, mostly Europe and the South and all over Canada and a bit North America. And so, then the pandemic hit and just decimated the Canadian airline industry.
Yeah.
And so there was a bit of a grieving period that Steve and I were both going through. And I think I can speak for Steve that he was experiencing the same kind of mourning of loss of our identity, loss of our livelihood, loss of our passion. And so we were kind of moping around, looking pretty sad for a while. My wife and I put into motion a plan to buy a bakery before the pandemic hit. So we have a bakery called With the Grain in Guelph. I was busy with that, and Steve didn't have sort of any preoccupation. So we were just kind of in Steve's backyard, knocking back whiskey, deciding how to improve our situation. And
solving the world's problems one whiskey at a time.
Yeah,
that's right.
A lot of good things are born over whiskey.
True.
So, to echo what Adam was saying, we lost our jobs. We both work for the same airline. We both have 20 plus years in this industry. We're both very passionate about what we did as airline pilots. You went to a hard stop. Like we spent March, a lot of how for March, repatriating Canadians. April 1st, it was okay. Thanks for your service. Go away, taking that job, that livelihood, that paycheck away from you very abruptly. And it was definitely a shock. So
that's tough. And that's tough for a lot of folks that have gone through that too. And I think, Adam, you touched on something about your identity shift from all of a sudden, you're a pilot, you're doing that, and all of a sudden you're just not.
Yeah.
How'd you guys sort of navigate that shift? Because that's a big one.
Well, it's tough because last week, this is jumping ahead, obviously, but last week I actually introduced myself as a coffee roaster for the first time. Usually I'm like, I'm a pilot.
Wow.
It's just so natural. It's what I've been doing for 20 years and plus years. And I want to be a pilot since I was 6. And then last week someone's like, oh, what do you do for a living? I'm like, I'm a coffee roaster. And it was like kind of, whoa, yeah, I guess I am. I know it's kind of a shock, but
who said that?
Yeah, I said, I guess I am now. But no, it is part of your identity, a huge part of your identity, and especially it's something as your passion of aviation. So there's a definite, I still feel it sometimes. Like I see airplanes flying over, you kind of, flutters the cockles of your heart a little bit, and I miss it. I miss it every day. So yeah, it's challenging, but yeah, it's, we went down another path, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. So how did the idea sort of come up that, you're going to go into business? Why coffee?
Well, it was kind of funny. So we're sitting in my backyard. We're sucking back cigars, and we're drinking some whiskey and throwing out ideas. And I planned on doing. I'm not someone who can sit around and wait. And I had a feeling this pandemic was going to be a long time, and I had other ideas of what to do career wise, and I was starting to work towards that. And Adam came in one night, just kind of talked me out of it. And then we just started talking back and forth and said, listen, like we both kind of want to start our own business. We have access to this business at the bakery With the Grain. We have some space in the basement. What can we do? And we started just throwing out spitballing ideas. And something Adam and I have always enjoyed doing together is food, like flavor, food related stuff. Like we brewed beer, we brewed a very aggressively mediocre cider. It was very aggressively mediocre. But we cook, and we like doing things from scratch. Like I make my own bacon in my backyard, like that kind of. So we have that kind of background of things we enjoy doing.
Yeah,
and we enjoy doing it together. So we just started spitballing ideas, and I can't remember all the ideas we threw out. But then Adam almost haphazardly just goes, "What about coffee roasting?" And we talked about, you know, doing microbrewery and stuff like that, which in Guelph, I mean, you can throw a rock and hit 5 of them. And we're just like, nah, that's not gonna work. But coffee brewing and coffee roasting. So we're like, okay, whatever, you know, didn't really think much of it. Went home. He went home. I went to bed, and then around midnight, 1 o'clock that night, I woke up, you know, agitated, as a lot of us were. This is June of last year. And I just went downstairs, I popped open my laptop, and I just typed in, you know, how to roast coffee on YouTube. And I was hooked pretty much instantly, I'd say. And I was there like till 3 or 4 in the morning watching videos and taking notes. And I really got into the idea. And then I woke up pretty early the next morning. I called Adam right away, and I just said, "Hey, buddy, Lost Aviator Coffee, you in?" And it wasn't even a hesitation. He's like, "Yes, in." That was it, and then here we are.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about the name. Why Lost Aviator?
Well, you know, Lost Aviator as a name has been in my head for years. And originally it was a microbrewery based out of the Guelph Air Park in a hangar. And we have a tap room attached to the hangar. In the summertime, you'd open up the hangar door, you have a little bar along the front of the hangar door, and you'd sit there and you drink beers and watch airplanes. That was my idea for years.
That also sounds like a good idea.
It's an amazing idea. Anyways, that was never really going to happen. Maybe one day, I don't know, but it was always that concept in my head. So we just literally adapted that concept to coffee roasting. And a lot of people assume it has something to do with the fact that we're airline pilots, we lost our jobs, we're both lost. And I think there's an element of truth in that. But really, if you look at our branding, it all harkens back to the golden age of flight. You know, we got the DC-3 on our logo. You know, we got the Super Constellation is one of our coffees. Like, we're more into that kind of golden age, vintage aviation, because that's both our passion. We both love that kind of stuff in aviation history.
Cool. Yeah, Dan, you're an aviator too, but one thing that's really important for us is that we don't make this an aviation only thing. I mean, everybody can be a lost aviator. You know, we're all captains of our own lives, and you know, we can all feel a bit lost sometimes. And so this is this name, I absolutely fell in love with it when Steve threw it out, because you know, there's so many different directions and so many different meanings to different people that it can take. I got a phone call from a gentleman whose father-in-law was a pilot, and he passed away, and his wife insisted on serving Lost Aviator coffee at his funeral. Wow. And that's something even I never contemplated picking that name. And that was meaningful to them. And so that to me was really meaningful as well, that you know, people are finding their own meaning with the brand. That's awesome. Yeah, it definitely has a lot of
there's no end to the depth of it. Like, we're still discovering new things we can do with it. It's kind of one of the things Adam said when we first developing, when we talking to our designer about the logo, he says, "I want to think Indiana Jones hacking through the jungle looking for coffee with a DC-3 in the background." And that was the perfect image in my mind. So yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun to work with, and you know, a lot of it unintentional.
So, airplanes and adventure, and you know, we're all lost aviators, and it's meant to be more inclusive than just the pilot community or the broader aviation community.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, and there's a level, I think, of romanticism to that golden age of flying as well, right? And I think that, you know, if that's sort of the vibe people are feeling when they're associating with your coffee, it's also to find that next great blend, that next great cup that we're all in search of as well, right? So yeah, there's a lot of interesting tie-ins. So I love the branding that you guys are doing, and one of the things I noticed is that, and we kind of touched on this just before we started recording, is about the level of positivity that you guys are putting out there. So how did you manage to go from a challenged environment, being out of your job and things like that, to bring in this level of positivity to the work that you're doing right now?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good one. Go ahead, Adam, if you want.
Well, I'll just have to prod the hamster. You know, I really, Dan, I like sailing as well, and you can't change the direction of the wind, but you can adjust your sails, right? And so Steve's a great communicator, and you know, I'm the Luddite of the duo. So
very true.
So the internet fad that I thought would go away really went the other way. And so anyways, it's just, like you've got to take control of the situation. Pilots don't just sit there with an engine on fire going, damn, I wish that thing wasn't burning, like I'm really sad that my airplane's on fire, that it's upsetting me. You don't just sit there and contemplate that. You do stuff. You move forward. You put the fire out. You land at the nearest airport. You get the fire trucks ready. You do your thing. And so this is Steve and I doing our thing, and it's carrying out our life emergencies. In a positive way that's gonna move us forward.
Yeah, I think being in the airline industry, it's pretty easy to look at the absolute ruin that it is and be very negative. And we've had our moments for sure, but I think one thing that we decided very quickly is we when in your career are you going to have the opportunity to build a business like we are? It doesn't really happen very often, and so we tried to find something positive. We needed something to focus on that was positive. It was very easy to go down a rabbit hole of negativity, and we're in this for the long haul. We knew come June that this wasn't going to end anytime soon, and so just disconnected from social media as much as we could, like the news part of it, and just start focusing on something else. And it's been, if nothing else, for our mental health, it's been fantastic. And the thing is too, but like the one thing I love about aviation is there's no end to the depth of it. Like I'm an Airbus training pilot. I've been flying for 20 plus years. When I'm training a new pilot, maybe it's his or her first jet ever, and it's their first flight, and I'm there training them. They always teach me something too. So with coffee, it's the same. Like there's no end to the depth of knowledge you can learn, and we're learning something new every day, and that's something that's really dynamic and interesting, much like being a pilot.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels there, and it's like with business as well, not just the coffee business, but any business. There's really no end to the learning.
Yes,
and that's also part of the journey, right? Is this, what do we need to learn now? What are some of the challenges that we're facing now? What do I need to learn to get over them or through them or around them, solve them? And how do I grow as a person? Because our businesses are a reflection of who and how we are.
Yeah.
Right. So I could tell that you guys had to be positive guys before we ever met, just by looking at your branding and what you guys are putting out there, because that's a reflection of you guys as leaders of your company.
Yeah, well, I mean, we want people to look at our feeds and smile. I don't want people to go like, oh, these poor. We're not going to sit there and complain about our fate as airline pilots. We're going to say, hey, listen, like, yeah, we're airline pilots, but we built something pretty cool, and we make good coffee, and give it a shot. You might like it. It's just fun. Like, I'd rather be smiling at work and putting out some positivity in the world than being upset. I mean, again, there's days it's difficult. I'm not gonna lie.
For sure.
Yeah, and too, it's like starting a business. Pivoting within 2 months of losing a career, starting a business, learning a new skill of coffee roasting. Like the saying that Adam and I, when we first started, we used a lot was, we don't know, and I mean, we still don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
We're still, we're like, to use Adam's analogy, we had the engines on fire, we put it out, and now we're flying to a safe harbor.
Except no checklist in business.
No, but there's no checklist in an airplane for every situation either, right? You got your
True.
SOPs, which you can use as guidance, and then there's just using experience and common sense, and that's kind of where we're at.
Awesome. So the learning curve is incredibly steep when you're starting a business for the first time, and especially because you guys had a double whammy. You're starting a business and you're starting a whole new skill of the coffee roasting. So what's been that's a lot to take on. What's been some of your top learnings through this process? Because you guys have been out for about a year now, I think, right?
June 8th was the concept, and so basically after that it was full time. So yeah, almost a year, 10 months.
So what's been some of your most memorable experience of the last year in business, or your top learnings? What's really impacted you?
Go ahead, Adam. I'll let you go first. I got to think on this one.
Prod your hamster. Yeah. You know what? Steve and I we're pretty gung ho, and we make decisions and we go. That's how we roll. And so we made the decision to go for this. And one thing that we didn't understand was just how many regulatory hurdles we had to cross. So first we got to figure out how do you do this? Where do you buy green coffee beans? Where do you buy the equipment? How do you install this equipment? What kind of professionals do you need to get all this done? What does the city need for for getting your license, all the inspections, the engineering behind it, all this kind of stuff. It really slowed us down. And so that was kind of a big learning curve, because everything was new. We're like, really? We need you know, an architect to draw a floor plan. We need an engineer to do this. We need an electrician to do that. We need this gigantic switch so that when the bakery turns on electric oven, it doesn't, you know, explode the building into overloading the electrical system. So all these things that just kind of popped up. I mean, it was kind of one thing at a time, right? And so we put one step in front of the other, and you know, we didn't realize that there was so many steps. But then, you know, as we went walking down the path, the next step revealed itself to us. And so that was kind of yeah, it was kind of a journey, I guess, in a sense, you know, that learning this new requirement for what to do to get a business license. And then there's the whole, okay, well, who's going to buy our beans? You know, where do we sell this? What channels are we going to target?
Yeah, so there's no checklist out there on like how to start a coffee roasting business. Like there's no, you know, we had to research different types of roasting technology, where to source our beans. You know, we had some contacts in the coffee roasting industry who were willing to talk to us. And we messaged quite a few. A lot of people didn't, and I get why, you know, like we're a potential competitor, they didn't want to talk to us. But we were able to find a couple guys locally who were really helpful, and then another good gentleman in Ottawa who used the same type of roasting technology as us, who kind of took us under the wing and were able to show us a lot of stuff. And it wasn't like they were showing us stuff we didn't know. They were just kind of backfilling information we had learned.
Yeah,
that was really helpful.
What I've noticed, guys, is that the most successful people out there are willing to act as a mentor for others who are coming up, right? And even if you're so-called competitive with them, I find that the success-minded individuals look at that as co-opetition, something to be learned, something to be shared and gained by for both. I've seen that time and time again. And what happens too is, so you guys will pay that forward as well. If you've had that assistance, that help, that hand
we already
up.
have. Yeah, we've been approached by a number of people who said, hey, you know, we like what you're doing. We'd like to do something similar. And you know, there's that momentary pause. We're like, they really want to help this guy. And then both of us had the same internal conversation. And it's that momentary pause. And like, no, people helped us. We will help people.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you 100%. Like it's competition. Also, I don't view it as like another small coffee roaster down the street as being competition. I view the Starbucks and the Tim Hortons and the Lavazzas of the world as being competition. The more people we convert away from that aggressively mediocre coffee to
aggressively mediocre, like
but the more people we can convert away from the big boys and do supporting small local specialty roasters, the better. And if someone buys our coffee one day and then buys another one the other day, then that's great. I mean, I consider that a win.
Yeah, it's a community, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. No, it should be.
And you know, I've got nothing but praise for the products that the local Guelph roasters are putting out. I mean, we've got you know, I think of the commercial ones, there's 3 of which we're one, and the other 2 do a great job. And you know, there's room for all of us. You know, we're not I don't really see them as competition. We each have our niches and we each have our customer followings. And I'm going to go with those companies that have drive-throughs that offer violently mediocre coffee.
I wouldn't even call me.
That's our competition, right?
Yeah.
And you know, like Coca-Cola is our competition, right? You know, I think that's the better optics to view your space in the industry, right? You're in the beverage industry, you know, and you know, if we can put a brand to it to kind of appeal to certain people to get them onto what good coffee can be, because coffee is not just hot brown fluid. It's a lovely complex drink that's got depth and dimension. And so if we can clue people onto just how amazing it is, like the sort of red wine of morning beverages, you know, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think with COVID, red wine is people's morning beverage these days.
Yeah.
It can
that
be
tequila, right?
Yeah, I got the hashtag I threw up in every single one of our posts. I call it hashtag morning wine. I don't know how much traction to get out of it, but I just love it. So
that's fantastic. So tell me a little bit about, if you're roasting coffee, you got different blends. Tell us a little bit about, you know, your process. Like, why do you just go all in on one particular blend? Why, you know, what type of blends do you have? What do they like?
Yeah, so that was a process. So we have to rewind a little bit because we got to go into our roasting technology, which is a bit different.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about that too.
Yeah, so that was part of the, within the first 3 weeks, we had to make that decision because we had to buy a roaster. So traditionally, I mean, coffee can be roasted any number of ways. You can roast it on a cast iron skillet, which is how they originally did it in Ethiopia. And some Ethiopian restaurants do that still. You can roast it in a popcorn popper. You can roast it over a fire. You can roast it on the barbecue. I could go on. But traditionally, commercial coffee roasting is done by a drum roaster, which is almost like a dryer, big, large drum that spins and is usually heated by electricity or gas or wood. And that was our original plan. We were just going to go traditional drum roasting. We already had a drum roaster picked out from a company in the United States. Done. For the equivalent size that we have, the drum roaster would have cost a lot more money, and it would have been almost £1,000. We had to get down a small staircase. So it was presenting challenges. And one thing we want to do is we wanted to be a bit different. We want to try something new and just think outside the box. And the one benefit of coming at this whole thing with fresh eyes is we didn't just do what everyone else does. So I was researching late one night different methods of roasting coffee, and I came across what's basically known as fluid bed roasting. And for lack of a better term, no, I'm not going to use that term because it kind of sounds so, but basically it's an air roaster.
Okay.
You take in ambient air, you bring it over a heat exchanger, you superheat the air, and then you basically have a little hopper where we dump our beans in, and a jet of air from an air pump shoots up, and the beans almost levitate and spin on this hot air. And then it's got an extraction fan which sucks all the chaff and stuff that comes off the beans and through a filter, and then expels the air outside. So the thing we like about it, and we were immediately drawn to it right away, is it's very clean, and it's used by less than 5% of coffee roasters.
Wow.
Yeah, and the one thing you get out of a traditional roaster is the beans, as they roast, they actually expand by about 20%, and they actually have an outer skin known as chaff that breaks off. Traditional roaster, that chaff quite often is just burned alongside. It's very flammable. It's not bad. It's actually, you can actually make a tea out of it almost, and it's very good as fertilizer. But it's burned alongside the process, so it kind of imparts a little bit of carcinogenic flavor into the coffee. But with the fluid bed roaster, because it's separated and we collect it, we actually give it to farmers. But also, it makes a really clean cup of coffee. It's just a really clean way of roasting. There's no carcinogens. There's no fossil fuels being burned. Nothing. It's very clean, and it just presents excellent.
That is really cool.
Yeah, and we really pump it out. We really, because to us it's a differentiator, but also people can taste it right away. The amount of compliments you get on, they're like, "This is the cleanest coffee I've ever had." And I never knew that there's a difference between regular dirty coffee and clean coffee, but you can really taste it, and we just love it.
Is that a new technology?
Yeah, new from the 70s.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The downside to it, and they're actually working on it, because I think you're going to see more and more fluid bed roasters, but the downside to it is it doesn't scale as well as traditional drum roasting is. And you can't get, like, you get drum roasters that have 240 kilo loads. The biggest one I'm aware of that we could potentially buy is like 25 pounds, 12 kilos ish. No,
like you can roast 25 pounds at a time.
Correct. Yeah.
How long does it take to roast them?
10 minutes.
That, like, from a green bean to roasted is 10 minutes? Wow.
10 minutes.
Yeah. Plus or minus.
Give or take, depending on that. Plus or minus. But yeah. So our machine is a 3-pound roaster, and as you're roasting, you lose about 20%. So you put 3 pounds in, you get about 2.5 pounds in.
Is that the chaff and stuff like that?
It's a little more. It's also the moisture. So green beans got about 12 to 13% moisture content, and as you're roasting it, you're removing that moisture content.
Gotcha.
Just to add on to Steve, what Steve's saying, and to answer your question, just on our product, we found this fluid bed roaster, and then another thing we did is we looked to some of the most successful businesses, and you don't like to admit it, but the major franchises are very successful businesses, and they're doing a lot of things right. So to say we're going to do it different to them, it doesn't mean that they don't have some really good ideas. So if you want, I don't want to get in any copyright trouble, but people drive to they know what a Big Mac is, and they can get a Big Mac everywhere, right? A
Yeah.
Pike Place coffee, is consistent. And so Steve and I decided that we wanted to have that same level of consistency in our 5 core brands. And one thing, I don't know, Dan, if you've ever got confused in a grocery store shopping for coffee, because one example I like to make is you're standing there and there's a bag of Sumatra right beside a bag of Java, and they're 2 islands in Indonesia, which a lot of people don't even realize, and you have no idea what the product is, how it tastes different. So we have a very simple lineup. We have a dark, medium, and light roast. We have an espresso blend and a decaf, and we've got different color labels, different names, and that's our 5 core products.
And they're consistent.
And that's our Big Mac, our Whopper, our Pike Place, that's our consistent
but higher quality,
go-tos.
much higher quality.
Yes, that's right. And so, we wanted to have consistency so that if somebody really likes a dark roast, they can latch on to our dark roast and know that they're going to get that when they reorder a bag of dark roast from us. It's going to be North Star. It's going to taste great, and they can rely on it. And now we're doing some other interesting things on the side. We've got this Brazilian pea berry, which is just an amazing kind of blueberry kind of flavor, just beautiful coffee. We've tried Nicaraguan coffees. We're exploring African coffees. We're aging coffee in a whiskey barrel. We're doing all these interesting things, but that's outside of our core. That's for the connoisseurs, so that we can kind of sort of cater to the enthusiasts while not having our core products that people can rely on
and still have fun with it too. Like there's a lot of people drink coffee, brown drink I put in my cup and I add some cream or sugar and off we go. But there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more depth to it, and we're trying to explore it as best we can. We've done a co-op with a local microbrewery. They took one of our barrels that we aged with, or prohibition roast as we call it, or whiskey barrel coffee, and they're doing a beer in it. And I'm talking to a local cider producer to do the same with our current barrel. And we're always looking for different things and ways we can collab with coffee and with other businesses, and local businesses, of course.
Those opportunities are everywhere if you want to get creative, right? And
well, the thing is that people don't associate a lot of this stuff with coffee. So we found listen, there's a lot of room to move in the coffee world that people aren't really exploring. And we're looking at it with fresh eyes. We're like, let's try this, let's try that. Let's see if it works. And and honestly, it's fun. It keeps us going. Because you can make the same 5 roasts, and like the dark roast or North Star is my jam every morning. And I hear from people all the time. They're like, oh, that Constellation medium roast, that's my jam. Every morning I have it. But then once in a while they go like, that pea berry seems kind of cool. I'll buy a bag of that. And then they can have fun with it, right? So
yeah, well, I think you guys have hit upon something I think that's critical, is that you've got your core nailed. You understand who your target audience is. It is the enthusiast, not just the person that's needing to get woken up. Someone that appreciates their coffee. And so when you've got your core, those core 5 worked out, and you get really consistent with that, now consistency is critical in business, right? When people are going to consume your product, they don't want it to be a little bit different every time, because then they lose comfort with it. It's like, well, we'll be good next time. I don't know. Let's try something else. And so you can lose them if you don't have that consistency. But being able to rely on that and make the business a little bit boring in terms of consistent, it gives you the freedom to explore some of those more creative things where it may not be so consistent. It's like, hey guys, we're going to try this out. Let's see if it's any good, right? You can engage some of that while still having that core that everyone can still count on.
I think too, I disagree with you to a degree, but our clientele, we have people who want the higher quality coffee, but we've been able to convert a lot of people away from the big box stuff. And like one of the best compliments we get, and we get it all the time from people who, they're used to buying a very bitter, over roasted coffee from one of the major stores and drowning it with cream and sugar and drinking it. And I've had people come in and they say, listen, yours is the first coffee I've ever been able to drink without any cream or sugar in it. And nice. So we've been able to kind of convert new clients into the specialty coffee industry, which has been really awesome. And it's based off our branding, and people really resonate with it, and they try us because hey, you slap a big sexy DC3 on the front of something, there's going to be a core number of people are going to go, that's awesome, and purchase it, pilots and non-pilots alike. And we've really been able to leverage that into showing people our methodology, and it's really resonating with a core group of customers that we see all the time.
That's fantastic. So talking about your customers, who are your core customers in terms of, is it individuals? Are you doing wholesale? Are you selling in any retailers? How do people get access to your coffee?
Actually both, Dan. So we sell through different channels. So we have our online web store, which is lostaviatorcoffee.com. Yep. And we also have a number of wholesale accounts. So we've got stores. We have an aviation store in Toronto, Threshold Aviation. We've got in the East. That's actually, we've got, no, we do have some other wholesales in Nova Scotia and one in Quebec and a bunch of stores locally. So we're trying to expand that business because that's kind of what, it's a lower margin, but it's the more reliable business, and it gets our product into more places that people are buying coffee. So we do have different channels.
Gotcha. And one of my clients actually mentioned that they're doing a gift program working with you guys. Like, yes. Tell us a little bit about that, because I think that's pretty cool too.
Yes. She contacted us 2 weeks ago, and yeah, it was a good fit. She's a recruiter. She wanted to kind of send a unique gift to her clients, so she's able to get positions, around the first day of their new job, and it was a amount of coffee and some of our coffee. And so she contacted us, and we set something up online where she can order from a web store and ship it direct. No, it was a good, I think it's a really cool little project, and we enjoyed it. We put a lot of information about us. She includes cards with their information on it. And, we really like working with local businesses and trying to find synergies where we can. And it's been very fruitful. And it's kind of building a community around it as well. And just having a network of people that you can rely on and have connections with. And it's going from being a pilot where you just, all my friends are pilots, I'm going to talk about aviation things, into the business world. It's been very eye-opening, and building those networks is really key.
Yeah, well, that's a critical thing you just mentioned, building your network, right? Mm-hmm. It's there's the old saying that your network is your net worth, right? Meaning that the people that you get around are going to help contribute to your success in many different ways, right? But it's just amazing the number of doors that get opened by, when you're in the right room with the right people, right? When you're doing that networking. And
yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So if someone is thinking of getting into business right now, what would you tell them? What would advice, as almost a year into it, new entrepreneurs, what would you tell an aspiring entrepreneur if they're like, hey, I think I've got this business idea. I think I want to get into business. What would your fireside chat with the whiskey and the cigar be to them?
Well, it's easy to talk yourself out of it. Honestly, the best advice, the advice I give everyone is just do it. You don't know what you don't know. There's going to be hurdles. You'll grow as a person. You have soft skills you had no idea you had. Adam can speak to this as well. We're both, airline captains, and we never thought. I always joked, I'm like, I don't really have any life skills outside of flying airplanes. Well, apparently I do. We have soft skills we didn't know we had, and they transferred very well into business. And that goes for literally everyone. Even if you're restocking shelves at a grocery store, maybe you think, oh, I don't want to just restock shelves. Well, you know what? You've learned a lot in that job. You don't even know you learned. And so, don't. It's easy to doubt yourself. Don't just get after it.
That's great advice.
I think there's another important thing. When you got to go for it, and there's these critical junctures, and I think you as a pilot can understand that there's not a perfect flight, and that you're going to make a lot of mistakes. But there's mistakes whereby, I forgot to turn a light on, a landing light when I'm landing, and there's another mistake, which is I forgot to put the landing gear down, right? Or I forgot to make sure I was high enough to clear the mountaintop, right? So there's critical and non-critical mistakes, right? And you come to these junctures, I made the analogy of walking down a path, and then you get this Y in a path, and one can lead you to danger and one can lead you to safety. But the one that leads you to danger might also lead you to greater success. And so at these critical junctures, you really need to put a lot of thought into the risk and reward. And is this something that you can do? And Steve and I are kind of at one of these junctions right now. And is this something to expand is going to add an element of risk? And so, you don't want to take lightly those critical mistakes, right? You can make all kinds of other mistakes and recover from it, but small businesses come and go, and the failure rate's quite high. So you just have to make sure that, I agree with Steve. I just want to say, everyone go for it. And I really do believe you should, but be aware of where, these critical junctions are. And
Not only that, but also like, let's say hypothetically you start a business of some sort. I'm not gonna even hypothesize what someone might start a business as. It might fail. Most businesses do fail initially, but you know what? That's not the end of it. It's just, you've learned. And, even if this business fails, Adam and I both have a taste for business now. We've got our ideas have ideas. And our pivots have had pivots.
Spoken like a true entrepreneur.
Yeah. And now that we've kind of got the bug, we see so much opportunity out there in what we're doing, and in parallels to what we're doing, that, pardon the pun, but the sky's the limit. So, let's say you get into business, let's say it doesn't work, let's say it flops, let's say whatever, right? Lockdown number 18 comes along and just kills off your business. It's not the end. It's not the end. And I think you learn from your mistakes, you learn from your experience, and you are the sum total of your experience. And, you might be a serial entrepreneur who's got 5 businesses underneath you, and maybe they all failed to some degree, but then you take all that collated data and experience, and you now are a better person for it. Like, I'll use the analogy that Adam talked about. Let's say you forget to put your landing gear down, and you land an airplane, and you smash up the props, and do a lot of damage to an airplane. Well, should the company fire you at that? No, they shouldn't, because you know what? You're never going to do that again. I guarantee it. I'm just saying, like, that person, and Adam and I both have friends who've had this happen to them. All of us can make mistakes, and in any high tech industry such as aviation, you learn from it. We analyze our mistakes. It's like, I watch Mayday, which people think that's weird. You're watching a show about airplane crashes. I'm like, no, because I learned from it.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing about business is you'll learn more from your mistakes than your success.
I think that's some really great advice, guys. I think, in addition, what you're saying without saying it is to have that level of positivity as well, right? And I think that carries us forward when we're facing challenges. If we think we can or we can't, the old saying, you're right. So if you have that positivity, that can-do attitude, and looking, I think the other part of it is we all make mistakes, but sometimes we're not paying attention to it. So I would say that make sure that you're paying attention to what's going on and trying to learn from each one too, right? Because like you said, you're the sum total of your experiences, but I think the learnings we get from those mistakes too.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and one of them I listened to is by an ex-Navy SEAL who's become a business person. And one of his lines that he uses when something's going wrong, his first thing out of his mouth is good.
Jocko,
exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that analogy. And I think I actually, there's a song out there that basically takes that and turns it into some EDM song, whatever. And I listen to it sometimes going to work, because it's like, this went wrong. His response, good. We've learned.
Yep.
Let's not do that again. And that to me is phenomenal advice.
Well, do you know what it tells me is that if you're making mistakes, you're pushing, right? If you're not making mistakes, then you're coasting, right? So if you're making those mistakes, you're pushing yourself, you're in growth mode. And, by definition, you're growing as a person, right? And your business is going to grow too. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, cool. Well, look, guys.
I was engaged in another conversation, Dan, with a gentleman, and who's asking kind of a different angle question, but I'll give you the answer that I gave him. And I think values are really important. You don't have a map, and for Steve and I think one of the reasons I knew it would work is our values are very aligned, and our work ethic's quite aligned too. So a partnership is kind of a natural friction setup, and you're not going to have an answer for what to do in all these situations, but I think I can speak very highly of Steve's values, and I hold them as well. That you do the right thing. You don't cut corners. You don't take the low road. And sometimes it's not as black and white as that. But that's your roadmap, and that's what you fall back on. To guide you. And one of the things that drives me absolutely nuts is it's just business. That insert air quotes. And that's a cop-out excuse. And it's kind of like, oh, due to COVID, you know, that's our latest cop-out catchphrase. And this whole, it's just business, it's a cop-out, you know, and we don't believe in that. And so, you know, that's kind of been our roadmap to kind of push us to where we are right now, wherever that is.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's a really good, I'm just going to extract something you said there, Adam, is that if you don't have a roadmap, you have to rely on your values. I'm paraphrasing you. I think that's really, really wise observation, because if you don't, you know, how else do you govern what you do? And, you know, when I'm working with clients as well, core values is something that we have to make sure are established, because that's really, you know, the way people live. It's how do you live at work? You know, what do you stand for? You know, what's acceptable, what's not. It's the core values are things that you would fire somebody for breaching and you would invest money to maintain, right? So that's how critical those values are. I think that when you get that right, that's a big part of the picture, because you can drive so many decisions based on that. If you've got unknowns, it's like, okay, how is this support where we're going? Is this in alignment with our values? So it makes making some of those decisions a lot easier.
Well,
yeah, we leave money on the table for our wholesalers and our business partners, you know, because they have to succeed as well. And so, you know, we just, it's important to us that, you know, we're helping the people that we do business with, and it's not all about us winning, it's about everyone winning.
Yeah, like one of the things we did when we first started, this is an example. If I'm going on too long again, just tell me that.
All good.
But we did these beautiful mugs, which are nice, big, beautiful DC3 on it. And we partnered up with a local pottery company, a pottery artist studio run by a lovely lady in Guelph called Blue Iris Studios. I can't say enough good things about it. And we called this our founders mugs, and we sold, it was a $75 mug. And we went to Iris because we loved her work, and just talking to her, she was ex-marketing executive, redefined herself as in the pottery field, but she was super professional, wonderful to work with, and she makes really good pottery. And so we said, listen, this is what we want to do. You know, what's your cost? Her costs were higher. She doesn't really wholesale because she's an artist. She's selling her work, and there's value in that.
Yep.
And I had people contact us and say, you know, these mugs are really good, but we can send them to China and they can copy it and we can get them for $2 a mug. And of course, I'm like, I'm not interested. Because, you know, there's value in us having that mutual relationship with a local business and an artist and supporting our own local community. That's our values. And, you know, I didn't even have a conversation with Adam after I was told this. It wasn't even, I just basically came back and said, oh yeah, we were told we could do this for $2. I told him pound sand, and he's like, yeah, that's dumb. Why would we do that? Like we like being partnered with local businesses as much as possible. So, I mean, so we can make, the good thing about having shared values is we can make decisions without the other person there, and then just backfill the person. Like yesterday, I made a call on cutting a bit of slack to a new wholesale partner. And I just called Adam and I said, hey, this is what I did. I just want to make sure you're cool with it. And he's like, yeah, hell yeah, I agree with you 100%. Done, no problem.
Yeah, that's a great point. When everyone is aligned on the same values, then yeah, you don't have to go and check with a committee to see if you should do something. You know, if it's aligned with the values, you just do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't run an organization by committee. It just doesn't work.
Not very well.
No.
I love that value of win-win. That's fantastic. That's, I mean, if we consider the law of reciprocity, that whatever you put out there is going to come back. When you might make mistakes in your business, but when you're looking to add value to others, you're looking to do a good job, you're looking to find the win wherever you can, that's always going to come back to you in a positive way, right? Maybe not from the source you put it out to, you put your positivity out here and the win comes, you know, the reciprocity comes from the side, right? But that's just how it works.
Well, I mean, one example of that is we're going to be in a Marketing Edge magazine. We're going to be the cover of a Marketing Edge magazine the next week or so. It's coming out. And this came out of nowhere. Someone contacted us. They said, hey, we want to support local. We're basically a marketing paraphernalia company. They provide shirts, what have you, to businesses. And there was a customer of theirs locally in Guelph who wanted to put together a little gift basket. So they came to us and said, hey, could we supply some samples? And we said, sure. And we gave them a price. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out with that company. And they said, oh, you know, they went with something else. You know, thanks for your interest, but I'd like to use it in the future because I like using supporting local. And so I just messaged this person back and said, tell you what, if you want to work with us, why don't I send you some coffee? Because you should speak from authority and know that we're producing a good product. And so they're like, oh, you do that? I'm like, yeah. I had it in the mail the next day. I got an email back a week later, and they're like, threw some business cards in and a little bit of paraphernalia and stuff like that, just whatever. And I didn't think much of it. I just another person experiencing our product. And then I got a phone call next week, and they're like, we love this stuff. We want to, awesome. we do a magazine. I had no idea. And we want to feature you in the magazine because we love the story, and this is just super cool. And then so we went and we did a photo shoot in front of Harvard. It was a lot of fun. And then while we're doing it, the gentleman who runs the magazine basically said to me, he says, no one does that. No one sends product. And I'm like, why not? Like, what's the downside? Like, it costs us a couple of bucks, but like now I have people who really like our product out there and who have a positive image of us, and it's a network, right? And we're just building a network. So to us, it's just common sense.
But you're adding value, right? And if that, again, you're looking for the win-win. Right, you're doing that reciprocity thing, adding value, and it always comes back. So that's fantastic.
I think also we have confidence in our product. Like if someone says, "Oh, I should try your coffee," I'm like, "Try it." Like I'm not ashamed of what we put out. We're actually quite proud of what we do. And it was difficult at first. We looked for a lot of we go to people in the industry and say, "Try our product. We think it's good, but I don't know. Are we on crack? Like, is there something wrong here?" And they tried and like, "Dude, this is amazing." So once you build up that confidence, you say, "Yeah, we're onto something. We make a good product." Like it's you can get the initial sale with the branding and the marketing, but you get the repeat sales, and we see them every week. We've got subscription service on our website, and people are signing up for it, and they're getting coffee every few weeks, lots of it, and it's the same customers coming back. So that's when we knew, like, okay, not only do we have good branding, marketing, etc., that's enticing people in, but we're backfilling it with a quality product.
Yeah, back to the core. You have to have that, right?
100%.
Yeah. Well, guys, look, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat and share your story, share your learning, share your values with everybody. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you to get some of your awesome coffee, what is the best way for them to reach out?
They could go to our website. They could go to lostaviatorcoffee.com, and they can email us at info@lostaviatorcoffee.com or adam@lostaviatorcoffee.com.
Fantastic. We'll put all that information on the show notes so that people can reach out. And
we're pretty active on social media too. We got lots of Instagram and I did my first Instagram live on Saturday, and it was actually a lot of fun. And I think we'll do it again. Once the COVID rules slacken up, we'll do some stuff together. We're just we're having fun with it as much as possible. We like interacting with people. We got a lot of Top Gun quotes on our Instagram.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. We'll make sure we get all your contact information up on the show notes so that everyone can reach out. So thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Great to get to know you guys a little bit better.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks a lot for having us.
All the best. Thanks, guys.